I'm King Link, and it's almost turkey time in America, which means it's time for the Humble Choice November 2022 review. Like always, we have 8 games from Humble, and after the last 2 strong months, we have to ask, is this going to be another one that's going to be impressive, or will they stumble? I've played each game on stream for mostly an hour. A few internet issues did pop up, but I got my playing time in. What's great is I'm acquainted with a couple of these games previously as well, so let's see how they are. We'll start with what's on the screen.
Need to spread out. Spread out. One already showing more.
Hell Let Loose, World War II multiplayer. When I played Beyond the Wire last year, I talked about how it accurately recreated World War I and showed how miserable it was. Hell Let Loose does the same thing with World War II, but also it's a damn good looking game. The sounds, explosions, and experience are incredible, and the action is intense and devastating. At the same time, I never actually saw an enemy and died so many times I couldn't believe it. This is a game where you slowly move forward and always take cover. It's also a heavily tactical game where communication is essential, so having microphones is going to be important to the experience and being able to listen to others as well. It's probably better to just play with a squad of friends. Pick this up if you like ultra-realistic multiplayer games. You're not going to be trading shots here. If you're shot, you might have a chance to heal. If you're shot twice, you will die. On the other hand, if you want to go for a walk in a war-torn country, well, you can kind of do that here, but watch out for snipers. Kingdom of Amalur Re-Reckoning, a remaster of a classic-style RPG. Kingdom of Amalur was released in 2012, 3 months after Skyrim, which is probably a big reason why it didn't take off. But that should put players in mind of what they will see here. This is a remaster of that old game that looks and plays very well. There's a heavy influence of MMOs at the time, as well as some work from Todd McFarlane and an attempt at world building for a franchise that, well, this is the only game from that studio, so clearly it didn't work out. With this being a remaster, this is gameplay from over 10 years ago, though there's not many RPGs done in this style anymore and the combat is good, so there is a place for it. The story is well told, but it's a generic fantasy game as well. It's more of a quantity than quality for the story, and while it did come out at the same time as Skyrim, Bethesda was already a force to be reckoned with, so realize this is going to be of a weaker quality. Pick this up if you like fantasy RPGs. I actually own and beat the original 2012 release, earning every achievement in the game, and I'm even considering picking this up again because I enjoyed that original game and wouldn't mind checking it out a second time. Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun Aiko's Choice, an expansion of an extremely solid game. Aiko's Choice is a DLC or expansion for the original Shadow Tactics game, but a standalone title as well. This gives a fleshed out campaign where the same party again embarks on a new story focused more on Aiko's character and past. There's a slick style to this combat and requires players to coordinate different characters and taking out targets, and mostly sticking to the shadows. At the same time, I struggled with this game, and maybe it's due to being new to the game, but I had to use a lot of quick saves and loads. These have an extremely fast loading time, but some players might not love that idea. Also, it's not always clear if a strategy will work until you try it, so there's a lot of trial and error. Thank God for the quick saves, of course. Pick this up if you like a tactical game, especially if you enjoyed Desperados 3 from March of this year. The same studio made this, and it's a similar style, though the Old West is swapped out for feudal Japan. I will mention that this is about a third of the length of the original Shadow Tactics, so the price might be a little bit high, but it seems pretty solid, though I would recommend playing the original game first. That's what I'll be doing. If you don't happen to have Shadow Tactics, it will be available on Epic Games for free from November 10th to the 17th. Sorry if that date's in the past, but that's why you should subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. Robo Quest, an FPS roguelike that's still in early access. I played Robo Quest in March of 2022 for Game Pass, and playing it again, I now notice a lot of the differences in it. This is still an extremely fast-paced game where players will be using abilities and multiple weapons to take on a large number of enemies. It's a challenging experience, but also a fast one where I was able to get through runs in under 10 minutes, partially because of failing early, of course. Robo Quest as it is now feels like a chance for players to have a fair but challenging experience, but the new skill tree isn't as good as it was, as the initial offerings are somewhat underwhelming. The bosses are interesting, but all of this doesn't really matter too much because while it's in early access, all of that can and likely will change before it's finally released. Pick this up if you like FPS roguelites. I just played Gunfire Reborn and I think that's better than this title, but it's also a finished product and there are pieces of Robo Quest I actually prefer. However, because this is early access, until this game releases, hopefully early next year, I can't say for sure what the final game will be like. Eldest Souls, a boss rush with Souls-like combat. I don't think Eldest Souls deserves a Souls-like comparison, but the word is in the name of the game, so we're gonna have to go there. Eldest Souls appears to be focused on exploring an interesting world and constantly running into bosses. I ended up getting stuck on the second boss of the game, but also enjoyed throwing myself at that extreme challenge that is provided. The music here is a bit loud, but man, it really gets you pumped as well. The downside here is it's not a Souls-like experience in that the only real gameplay is the bosses, so it's more like a hard version of Shadows of the Colossus without that implied morality from that story. The fast-paced combat is all about reading attack patterns and trying to survive long enough to see and learn the full movesets of those enemies. Pick this up if you like challenging games. I enjoyed this quite a bit, but the focus here reminds me of Fury, where players will have to play challenging battles over and over to beat each boss, even as those bosses made me feel foolish after each loss. I spent almost 50 minutes on a single battle, and yet I still want to come back and try to get that win.
You stole a one-eyed man's patch?
A one-eyed man that would shoot me without hesitation.
Unmetal, an attempt to inject humor into the original Metal Gear. On paper, this should be fine. Someone has taken the outdated NES Metal Gear and modernized it, giving it a different story and humor, and if the humor on the screen is working for you, ignore the rest of what I'm about to say and just check this game out. I'm sure there's an audience for this title. However, for me, I disliked everything about this. The humor was painful, as was the story. They said I was sentenced for a crime I didn't commit at least 4 times in the first hour. We get it. It's the A-Team. It wasn't original the first time you said it. The game constantly stops for well-voiced but awful cutscenes that try too hard to feel needed or funny. The graphics are average at best, but the gameplay just never felt that fun. Even the boss battles felt weak. I can't recommend this game. But like I said, maybe if someone really loves the humor here, which is why I'm trying to show it, maybe they'll get a kick out of this, but the humor here really disappointed me, and the rest of the game made me dislike the mishmash of different features and ideas that really never work together.
A shrine to Kali.
Your sister's shrines are fed by violence.
Raji, an ancient epic, an exploration of Indian mythology. Raji is a story about a circus performer whose brother is kidnapped and she has to save him while battling monsters. The Indian mythology is pretty fresh and is explored well here. The world though is exceptional, with the game's backgrounds just being beautiful. You often see parts of the level you traveled through or will traverse later, and the animations are incredible, really showing off the character's acrobatic background. I played this on Game Pass, and I'll say the first 20 or 30 minutes might be a little bit rough. After you get a good handle on the combat, the game starts letting you use your upgrade points and then gives you a second weapon, a bow, and suddenly everything clicks. But that opening looks amazing, but is on the weaker side. Pick this up if you like a solid platformer with good combat or are interested in Indian mythology. The story here works extremely well, and the character and world designs are exceptional. I enjoyed this game quite a bit the first time I played it, and I am thrilled to have added it to my collection and will be doing another playthrough. Mobid, the 7 Acolytes, a pixel art Souls-like. Another attempt at the popular formula. Mobid, the 7 Acolytes goes with a more stylized look but a recognizable combat system. Mobid has a heavy focus on parries and stamina management rather than dodges, making it similar to Sekiro: Shadows Die. There are only minor penalties when players die, and an absence of corpse runs to regain lost items, which rewards more experimentation. Mobid, the 7 Acolytes can feel great when the player nails the system, but frustrating when the player runs out of stamina without realizing it. Parries are so essential that it's hard to overstate, but the difficulty here is pretty reasonable. However, the early enemies were not as impressive, and I hope to see more variety after the first Acolyte. At least, I hope so. Pick this up if you like Souls-like games and enjoy these graphics. The game is very bloody, but it's in this pixelated style. So this is a pretty interesting take on the formula, and I'm looking forward to seeing even more of it. And that's the 8 games of Humble Choice, but you know how this goes. Let's look at just one more game. This was released on the Humble Game Collection on October 27th and is available to any Humble Choice subscriber now or in the near future. Signalis, a pixel art original Resident Evil-esque horror game. Signalis evokes a style of game that doesn't get made as much. This game screams original Resident Evil from the PlayStation and does a fantastic job with it. Players start on a crashed spaceship and need to find out what happened. The exploration of the ship, static angles of the camera, and disturbing cutscenes all feel authentic to that original survival horror genre. The art is extremely good as well. Signalis isn't perfect though. It's sometimes hard to figure out what's part of the background and what needs to be picked up. This gets into resource management, and the game tells you not to shoot the hell out of everything you run into. The game is disturbing, but that's also what I would expect from the genre. Pick this up if you want a classic survival horror. I always say I'm not a horror fan, but this one might make me play more because it's got a classic design to that gameplay. In addition, there's also Ghost Story, which is already in the Humble Game Collection as of today, which means I'll cover it next month, but we'll also cover it in the Game Pass video in a couple weeks if you're interested. With all of those games out of the way, how's the choice? Well, again, I think this is exactly what I've been hoping to see from Humble for a couple years now, actually. A few big titles, a solid array of games, and something I was interested in checking out. I'm displaying information from isthereanydeal.com, including the prices, and admittedly the games this month have gone for cheap, but overall this is a solid value, especially if you're interested in Hell Lets Loose, and remember, this is only $12. At the same time, if you aren't interested in Hell Lets Loose, that's a big loss and a key part of the bundle, but I probably won't be returning to it, and yet I'll be putting in a lot of time into my favorite title this month. I'm also just going to say it, I think even though that they're different, Mobid and Eldest Souls feels like they overlap, and while some people will enjoy playing both, I think Mobid would have shined a lot brighter if it didn't have that competition in the same month. With that said, let's shove the games on a tier list. We have the bundle sellers, for which you should probably buy the whole bundle for, the solid add-ons, which you might want to be grabbing 2 or 3 to make it worth your time, and the also-rans, which I can't really recommend. I want to be clear, this is not a value proposition, but rather if you should be picking up the bundle based on the enjoyment of these games. If you want to know the value, well, you can of course check out isthereanydeal.com on your own. Starting with the bottom, we have Unmetal. I'm just not a fan of this game, and the hour I spent with it was annoying. It didn't help that I eventually got frustrated and had to look up a guide just to find 2 different items, and the answers I just don't think were that intuitive. This one frustrated me, but again, someone will like this. And luckily, that's the only title in the also ran, so let's just move up to the solid add-ons, starting with Mobid, the 7 Acolytes. The art looks great here, but it's the combat I think is the core of this game, though it can be a little repetitive. However, a solid level design is what will keep people coming back, though the lack of the corpse run will turn off fans of the genre, as there's no major penalties to experimentation that will also welcome new fans to the Souls-like genre. Next up is Robo Quest. I put this firmly in the middle of the chart. The devs have made a few changes like the new skill tree, which I disagree with, but also are showing huge improvements, so it might be worth taking a shot and seeing how the game leaves early access. But they also can equally make some big mistakes before then. I'm just not sure about this title yet. And then there's Eldest Souls, and this game impressed me. While I'm not a huge fan of the Souls series, Eldest Souls cuts out a lot of the needless parts and has players challenging just the big epic bosses, and feels like this one's going to have a lot of fans. And at the top of the add-ons, it's Raji. Maybe it's just my opinion, but I love this game and I think a lot more people need to check it out. It's gorgeous, it's a unique topic, and it has some great style. If you give this one a shot, I'm pretty sure you're going to have an amazing experience. And that's how the tier list looks, leaving only the bundle sellers, and it's not a surprise that it's the headliners up here. With that said, let's see which order they fall in. At the bottom of the tier, we have Shadow Tactics, Blades of the Shogun, Aiko's Choice, which is a mouthful. This is a great title and worth checking out, especially for fans of the original game. The only issue is it's short, but enough is going on here that it might be worth replaying a couple times. The middle of this tier is Hell Lets Loose. I'm not a fan of this one, I'll be clear about that, but I can't deny people are going to go crazy for it, and it's a good experience even if everything popular about it is not for me. If you want to see the hell of World War II, this is a good choice, and it's extremely active, which is a great sign for a multiplayer game. Finally, the top of the bundle sellers tier is Kingdom of Amalur. I spent 80 hours beating this game the first time, and I'm considering tackling it again. It's the style and the world that I enjoyed here, and if you missed out on the game the first time, I think you should at least consider checking it out now, whether it's on Humble or on its own. And that's what I have for Humble Choice. I am genuinely impressed with this month, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they're able to deliver another great lineup next month. Thanks for watching this video. If anyone is interested, I ended up getting youtube.com/KingLink as my new address, so if you want to update your bookmarks, what's wrong with you? But you can use that link from now on, and I'm excited about it, so I'm sharing it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching this whole thing, it means quite a bit to me. Consider subscribing and ringing the bell if you haven't already, and if you want to help me out, give this video a like or leave me a comment. It's important to the channel and I really appreciate it, always. If you need a prompt, let me know what you think about this bundle, what you're hoping for next month, or more importantly, what you think the best game or month from Humble has been in 2022. You know, it's coming to that time of the year where we start discussing that. If you're American, happy Thanksgiving, and if not, have a great November or whatever memeable version of November you celebrate. With that said, I'm going to do the usual. I'll pop up a couple videos for you to check out if you want to watch more. You can click any of these. See you next time.